Wow, that looks awful.
I'm
I'm so good at this. How did I get here? Hey guys, it's me, Mr. Data Dreamer here, and I'm currently on my Jinx arc. I'm seeing visions, and my past demons have come to fight me, such as this thing. I see it all the time. Every time I close my eyes, it's there, staring at me. I mean, not really staring at me, because it's from the back of the... Last time we spoke, I made the basic moveset outline. I completely made that up on the spot. I made things like walking, diving, and jumping, and jumping, and jumping. During the time between this video and last video, I've been working on Data Dreamer, kinda. But what is Data Dreamer? Data Dreamer is a 3D platformer horror game that has a gameplay over horror mentality. You play as Penny, who will use her massive brain to solve problems, craft new tools, help someone mysterious, ooh, all the while being hunted down. I haven't seen the sunlight in years. Anyway, since halfway through editing the last video, I got pretty burnt out, which was kind of a good thing. While I wasn't working on the game itself, I was working on other things surrounding it. This includes an approximately 10,000 word Google Doc on the lore and story. Lore and story? Now, let's get into the plan. And then do something like dramatic in the editing. So, I actually decided to plan something for once. I made a deal with myself to use MS Paint exclusively for the concepts, excluding finalized concept art of course, because I find it funny. Humorous if you will. Wait, hang on, I need to pull it up. What you are looking at right now is the basic gameplay structure. It's a bit crude, but I think it gets the point across. I kind of feel like a caveman on a wall writing these weird stories, but like, you know, make do with what you got, you know what I'm saying? The hub is basically a safe space for you to mess around in, save your game, and unlock areas. Each area has a certain theme or gimmick to it, such as Area 1 being a water park, so it has water and water slide. Each area has a thing to solve, not necessarily a puzzle requiring like that much thought process. It's more so just overcome something, and then when you do that you can unlock the next area. It's more so structured like Mario Odyssey. Throughout each area there are logs, lore. Basically they function almost identically to the Subnautica PDAs or the Five Nights at Freddy's security breach duffel bags, whatever you call them. You know, I kind of like security. It's mainly there. If you want to, that's cool. If you don't want to, that's also cool. That's also cool. In each area, there are multiple levels. Levels are a linear challenge. Think Mario Odyssey sub-areas. Dude, why do I keep on bringing this game up? That lets you collect pieces. Pieces are used to craft the main gimmick of this game. Shoes. Shoes have a unique property to them, which alter your moveset to give you a completely different gameplay experience. So, the roller skates, you'll be faster overall, however, you will be less precise in your platforming with like tank controls and slipper. I graduate this year, by the way. And shoe 2. Basically, you jump higher, however, you're less fast. Then these aren't finalized concepts, but they get the point across. And each shoe is pieces combined with orbs. Each area has a certain orb type. Orbs are basically coins, with a less common secondary type. Each orb has its own power type, and this power type... Why do I sound like that? For example, shoe 1 would cost 50 orb type 1, as well as 3 shoe pieces. Like I mentioned previously, I won't be covering horror-related stuff in this video because I want this game to be fun, scary. Whoa. I wonder where I've heard that before. Now, I would like for all of this in the demo. However, if I do that, the demo probably won't come out until 2026. Since I want you guys to play the game as soon as possible, but still have an actual good experience, I will likely make a single area for you all to mess around in. I don't know how to do a segue.
Anyway, back to coding.
I started by finishing the idle sprites. Now, as I said, I want to be focusing on visual stuff like this, but the back and front sprites pissed me off a lot, so... Kitcha! And welcoming the first gimmick I have made, the fan. What it does is add an amount of velocity to your velocity, upwards, meaning you can float on top of it, or jump into it from the bottom for height. Initially, the launch was tied to the event tick, which was a pretty huge oversight. A tick is fired every frame. You see the problem? This meant someone with 120 FPS would launch far higher than someone with, say, 30 FPS. So instead of that whole thing, I added a timer that fired an event every 0.01 seconds. So, introducing the slide. Wow, that looks awful. The rough explanation on how it works is that if you enter the blue side, you will store your forward velocity, multiply it by a smidgen, and then it teleports you to the red side and then converts your forward velocity into the upwards velocity, and the other way around for the red part. This does mean you can chain them together and do... what the fuck? This. That's a problem for future me. Remember that. Now, an issue I had with the dive was that if you were to dive into a crawl space, you would stand up and get stuck. This meant I had to code a whole detection system specifically for a ceiling above the player to prevent this. It was hard and boring, so I'm moving on. Wow, that was a lot. We aren't even halfway. Anyway, this video is sponsored by me. Follow me on Blue Sky. I give somewhat regular development updates on projects I'm working on, such as Data Dreamer and the other game. Speaking of, welcome to the other game segment where I talk about the other game. Some people will say it's a bad idea to work on two different projects at once, especially when they are completely opposite in tone. But I am simply built different. You know what they call me? Toby Fox 2. Hell, they even call me Scott Cawthon 2. I don't know where I'm going with this. Subscribe so I can buy this Lego set. I just think Metal Sonic is cool. Oh, and Tails too, I guess. Moving on! I then remade the bounce pad so that it's just easier for me to use, with the added function of giving more height when you stomp on it. Speaking of the stomp, I'm so good at this. I've now tied the impact jump to be in effect when landing after a stomp, which means people use the stomp more. I also buffed the impact jump so it goes a bit higher. Yep, and you hear that? Footsteps that aren't utterly annoying. I tweaked the dive so that if you're above a certain speed, it will ever so slightly multiply your velocity. This was actually really hard. So much blood, sweat, and tears went into this. Okay, I guess I'm done. But now, let me introduce to you the spin. The spin was so simple, but it gave the game so much extra dimension to it that it's kinda insane. Now that I think about it, the way it works is that you can spin once in the air. However, it only resets if you touch the ground or during the dive. The dive is now more of a commitment since you don't leave the dive state until you touch the ground or spin. God, I'm so good at this! The strategy I found from, you guessed it, flickering between a regular frame and a smear frame gives an illusion of moving really fast. I then made a pause menu. So this was kind of the part where I got addicted to my own game's moveset, because it's just that fun, and... how did I get here? Now this marks the moment when something snapped something inside of me, causing me to add sound effects ripped straight from Sonic Unleashed's game files, which I'm pretty sure I copyrighted, but they are placeholders, so ignore them. Speaking of sounds, I made some music. Basically, it's supposed to be more ambient than the other stuff I make. And I'll likely improve as the game continues in development. Now, the camera did feel a bit bland to me, so I added a zoom in and zoom out feature. Scrolling up once, or whatever you call that, shortens the camera's arm by a select amount. This amount can be changed in the settings in the future for when I add it, because I am built different. I don't know. Oh yeah, also the drop shadow. This prick has been here since the first devlog. Essentially how it works is it just projects a texture in this box. However, the texture wasn't rotated the right way, so it was projecting from left to right instead of just the top. This meant it did shrink and grow, which is exactly what I wanted, but I fixed it to see what it actually looks like. I'll solve this eventually, guys, don't worry. Now, an issue I currently have with Data Dreamer is that the momentum isn't actual momentum. All it does is detect the floor's angle and adjust the speed accordingly. This means you could look towards a downslope, jump, and turn around with zero impact on the speed. I've been doing some research to make real momentum, and there isn't a lot out there. Turns out this is an insanely hard thing to do with Unreal Engine, according to Reddit. Tune in next time where I remake the momentum system to act like real momentum. And that's the stuff I feel like sharing. I am more confident in this game now that I planned it out, and hope I can get a playable demo out soon. Let me take this as an opportunity to talk about sub-goals. The reason there isn't a Discord server yet is because this channel is still in its infancy, so here are the sub-goals I made. At 1k subs, I'll make a Discord server. Here, you can make feedback and suggestions, talk about my projects, etc. At 5k subs, I'll make a game, live with chat, telling me what to make. Hoping Unreal doesn't dox me. And that's all I can really think of. Shout out to Raymond, guy who's making Project Feline, for motivating me to open Unreal and do stuff because of his videos. It just gets me into the mood of torturing myself. Thanks, Raymond. Very cool. And another shout out to all of you who commented on the last video. I can assure you, I won't do an NFT rug pull scam on you guys. Depends how much money I could make though.